Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's parenting skills have come under the microscope at the Invictus Games for good reason, with the Duke giving this truly bizarre interview, casting doubt on whether he even enjoys being a dad. Now, Lady Colin Campbell is with me now. Lady C, I found that interview really sad, actually, because yeah, he's trying to say it's great, but actually you can really tell that he is struggling with being a dad, horrified at the concept of having more than one child. Well, he has two, of course. And during these Invictus Games, we really did see how both of these guys are not natural with children. We'll come to Meghan in just a moment, but what was your reaction to hearing Harry talk about being a dad in that sort of negative way? I mean, he almost looks a little bit depressed to me.
Oh, I think he is depressed. But I actually have always thought that Harry was pretty good with children. I mean, Harry and William used to play with my boys, who are a decade younger than they are, at polo. And both Harry and William were great with them. And my experience of Harry is that he's good with children. And also, I've seen Harry in other situations with children. But of course, playing with somebody for 20 minutes, half an hour, 2 hours is one thing. But having the responsibility of the welfare of a child for its life is another thing altogether. And what I found interesting above all, my kids.
They're your boys. They're a lot older than that now, but they still look just as good.
So let's start with Harry's bizarre interview, because this was one of the most uncomfortable moments we've seen from him. He's supposed to be celebrating family life, but instead, he basically says that having more than 2 kids is a mistake. He sounds completely exhausted talking about being a dad. He even jokes that people with more kids brought it on themselves. Now let's be real here. Does this sound like a man who loves fatherhood? Or does this sound like someone who feels trapped? Folks, Harry is not the same man he used to be. He used to be the fun-loving, relaxed prince. Now he just looks tired. And you have to wonder, is it the pressure of fatherhood? Or the pressure of his marriage?
That's us at the Château de l'Alguerrier, the place we had in the south of France. They went to school in France, my boys. So they speak French as if they were French. In fact, 1 or 2 people have said, how come they have a French accent? I don't think they have a French accent, but they do have an overlay. But anyway, no, I think that Harry is daunted by responsibility. And I think he is depressed. I think he really suffers, emotionally. And I think it's very difficult being married to somebody who is a succubus. And Meghan is a succubus, and she's a leech, and she sucks the blood out of people and out of him.
And I mean, Lady C, can I just interrupt and point out this video to you? Because she was so desperate during her time at Invictus to show, not just to the world, but I think to Harry, that she is good with kids. And unfortunately, all of her efforts were very awkward, very stunted. It certainly fits with all of my reporting, which is that she's not a hands-on mum. She very much struggles with her children. And of course, we have discussed many times before that we don't actually know the origin of the children. But let's put that to one side. There does seem to be a real disconnect when it comes to Meghan and children.
Well, do you remember, Dan, that photograph, that clip of her with Archie when he was a baby? And he's saying Dada because he's looking to his father, and Meghan is saying, oh yes, and Danny and flipping it around, and she practically grabs the child, if not literally, figuratively, by its head, and sort of, I mean, you can see she's not good with children. But very demanding, controlling, dominating people are not good with children, because you need to have a certain amount of fluidity and flexibility to be good with children. Children recoil from too much control and being overridden, and Meghan overrides everybody. So, but what concerned me about Harry's comments with that person was when he went on and on about his mother and the landmines, and how he's bringing his children up to understand that their grandmother was a heroine, and that landmines, her landmine legacy. Diana, at the time, got a whole heap of flack from the government because there was an international agreement that was being reached all over the world, international meaning literally international. And Diana nearly derailed it with her landmine phantasmagoria. And I wrote about this at the time. I'm pretty sure I even wrote about it in The Real Diana, my posthumous biography of Diana. Diana was no heroine where the landmines were concerned. She jumped on a bandwagon that she knew was assured of success, and she nearly derailed things. The government at the time actually had to inform her that she was to stop doing what she was doing, because she was endangering the treaty that all the governments were trying to reach. So Harry going on and on about what a wonderful accomplishment Diana made. It was a fabulous accomplishment in terms of the public and the press thinking how wonderful she was. But I can tell you something, in reality, it was the height of opportunistic self-advertisement. That's really what it was.
Now let's talk about Meghan Markle's parenting style, or should I say her lack of one. She had this weird staged moment at the Invictus Games where she was seen talking to a group of kids. And let me tell you, it was painful to watch. Now why does this matter? Because Meghan has spent years selling herself as this perfect mother. But where are Archie and Lilibet? Why do they never bring their kids to public events? Why do they act like their children are some kind of royal mystery? Folks, I have to ask the question. Does Meghan actually enjoy being a mom? Or is motherhood just another brand to sell?
Well, look, Lady C, I think it is worth it's worth us taking a look again at that interview that you referred to. It's the same interview. It's a different part of it. There's a couple of parts of this I think that are worth looking at. But personally, I found it quite shocking that he is talking about a 5-year-old child in regards to IEDs, which blow someone up. Again, it really showed to me that he's not all there at the moment. I mean, Lady C, look, if he were talking about a 10-year-old or a 13-year-old, that would make a lot of sense. But he's talking about a 5-year-old. So this is something Harry is doing for himself, not Prince Archie. Because if he actually gave a damn about Prince Archie tapping into his heritage, he wouldn't be keeping him apart from King Charles for so long, would he?
No. And I actually think it's abusive. I think a parent who speaks about inappropriate things to a child, which will horrify the child or distress the child, I think it's not only inappropriate, I think it is abusive. There is such a thing as a maturation point, and no 5-year-old is capable of being able to absorb positively the horrors of warfare with landmines, etc. That's why movies that are particularly violent have a cutoff point. And for Harry but of course, this is what Harry is saying to a journalist that he did. Did he actually do it? Or has he become very Meghan? And is he now going to be, shall we say, inventing things to big himself up and make himself look better than he really is? That's the question.
Well, he certainly is living in an alternate universe, Lady C, because he, in another part of this interview, and again, it really is worth looking at, he was talking about his experience in Canada and about how wonderful it was that the paparazzi just didn't manage to track him down. But remember, the whole narrative previously that Harry has employed is that the reason they had to flee from Canada to Hollywood was because the paparazzi did track them down. So this guy can't ever get his story straight. What do you make of it? Totally changed story.
Now let's get to the real issue here. Prince Harry looks like a man who is questioning everything. And let's be honest, this isn't just about fatherhood. This is about a man who gave up everything for Meghan Markle, and now he's isolated. He's lost his family, and he doesn't look happy. And the more we see these awkward interviews, the more obvious it becomes.
Not only has he totally changed the story, Dan, but let's remember, this was the run-up to COVID. And remember, this was the run-up to COVID. And people were actually pretty much keeping themselves to themselves. And he's now saying that they were for the first 6 weeks out and about. That's not true. My aunt owned 2 houses on Vancouver Island. I know people on Vancouver Island. Vancouver Island, I actually have cousins who live on Vancouver Island. I mean, I've never heard such claptrap in my life. And Harry wants the world to believe this. And also, we're now to believe this latest narrative, which doesn't accord with the previous one. Well, which version of the truth is the truth and which one is a lie? Or are they both lies?
Well, what's fascinating...
Ayawushka.
Also, it's like, are we really meant to believe, given what soon emerged back then, Lady C, that it wasn't leaked via Hollywood anyway? Because, of course, David Foster, the music producer who's married to Catherine McPhee, soon swept in to confirm that it was him who had lent him the mansion. And look, I know the ins and outs of this particular story are unimportant, but what is important is actual proof, Lady C, that Harry cannot tell the truth anymore about anything. He is so now consumed by lies, so confused by the own web of lies that he has created. And look, we know Meghan is a liar. She's always been a liar. She's lied about everything. But Harry is now a pathological liar.
Yes, he is, without a doubt. He's adopted many of her traits and habits. And, you know, also, let's face that both Harry and Meghan display not only seriously disturbing and disturbed aspects to their personality, but going off their admissions with their involvement with drugs, their behavior leads one to conclude that they fly higher than the highest kite will fly. It's all, you know, when you're dealing with people who are drug-addled or who, shall we say, emulate the conduct of the drug-addled.
Prince Harry is stuck in a world he thought he wanted, but now he looks like he wants out. So let's break it down. Prince Harry sounds depressed when talking about being a dad. Meghan Markle's parenting moments look completely staged. The British public is starting to ask, where are their kids? Lady Colin Campbell says Harry looks trapped in his marriage. Folks, this is not a happy family. Harry is not the man he used to be. Meghan's perfect mom act is falling apart. And people are finally seeing the truth. So here's my question to you. Is Prince Harry realizing he made a huge mistake? Is Meghan Markle using motherhood as a brand rather than a real responsibility? And will this marriage last? Or is it already falling apart? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.